Hey there, Julia here. It's the end of the year, perfect time for reflection and thinking about my favorite pen and ink pairings of the whole year of 2024. However, my memory is not the greatest. I've inked a lot of pens this year, so I thought it would be a good time to re-experience my favorites from every month one more time before picking an ultimate favorite of the year. Honestly, November was a pretty rough month of pairings. And not just the pairings, it was more so just the pens by themselves, the inks by themselves, the pairing together. In some cases, I had to do repairs. There were inks that were super watery. Ugh. Not a good time. So I need December to be very joyful in the pen and ink department. So I picked these favorites at the end of every month. So I do the currently inked. There's a mid-month check-in that I do. And then, let's see if this is a good example. At the end of the month, I rank the pen, the ink, and the pair together out of 5. And so I add these up, and whichever one has the highest number, that's the favorite of the month. And so I'm just going to go through all of my favorites, and we're going to get started with January. So my favorite for January was the TWSBI Eco in Creme and Rose Gold, and this is inked up with Diamine Walnut, which was actually one of my favorite inks from 2023's Inkvent calendar. I fully expect this to take up 2 pages, but I'm still going to try to keep these swatches a reasonable size. I forgot to mention this is a fine nib, and I just wasn't expecting to love this combination as much as I do. And I can't even tell you exactly why. The flow is really great. It just has a really cozy feel to it. Yeah, so good. Such a good match. February is kind of funny because I recently had at least the pen inked up, but my favorite from February is the Esterbrook Esty in the Raven colorway. This has a cursive smooth italic nib done by Kirk Spear. And I have this inked up with Diamine Writer's Blood, which is a community favorite. It's a nice wet ink, and paired with this cursive smooth italic, it was just so good. However, this is what my writer's blood is looking like. It is a sample. There's not even very much in this pen, which is a little bit sad. I guess I need to get some writer's blood. But for the swatch, I'm just gonna see what we can do here. Oh boy, there's like nothing in here. I'm gonna try to get it out with a Q-tip, at least enough for a swatch. Maybe. Oh, it's gonna soak in there. Oh, we got something. It looks a little lighter with the Q-tip and just the amount of ink that I'm getting on here, but we get the idea. This is Diamine. we're only 2 in and I'm super excited already about reliving these pairings. So good. Okay, March comes with a little bit of story time. So the favorite for March was the Pelikan M800 in green and black. However, I don't have that pen anymore. And if you've been around, you know that that is and was my Grail pen. And I've had another story time with this pen previously. So I got the body switched out for the transparent barrel. I bought it with the opaque barrel. I didn't think it was going to bother me, but it did because I really wanted that transparent barrel. So I swapped out the barrel. My infamous dealer, Joel, did that for me. However, it started leaking out through the section. So maybe the two, like the transparent body and the opaque body, aren't compatible to swap. Not sure. So took it back to Joel and he ended up switching it back to the opaque body. And I just wasn't happy with that. So I sold that M800 with an extra fine nib and ended up getting another Pelikan M800 with the transparent body. And I got the red and black instead. And this one has a medium nib. I found such a good deal on this that I settled for the medium nib, just knowing that I could maybe trade for an extra fine nib unit or get it ground in the future. So this pen is in transition. I don't know. But I have the M1000 in the green transparent, and so I just thought it would just make sense to do a different color this time. So this one does have a medium nib, and I have it inked up with the ink that was in the Pelikan M800 in green and black at the time that it was deemed the favorite. So this is inked with Ferris Wheel Press Spruce County Post, which is a green ink. This is a red pen. Help. No, I think, since it's the holiday time and green and red, like it works out and I'm not itching or in hives because it's not a matchy match. But this is a super beautiful, deep green. Gorgeous. See, it gives holiday. So maybe I will get over the non-match here. My pick for April is a gorgeous one. It is the Tailored Pen Company's Wildflowers fountain pen. Look at that. I love this one. This inspired my wedding bouquet pen, but you can see the little pieces of wildflowers in the resin here. So pretty. And just like in April, this is inked up with Ferris Wheel Press Dancing Time, which is another green ink, but this one is a little more subdued and has some really pretty color shifting properties. And I just remember thinking that the pen was super comfortable, the ink was perfect for it, and I could not put it down. And this pen does take Yovo nibs, and I have an Esterbrook fine nib in there, which I'm pretty sure is the same nib that I had in there in April. I love it. I'm pretty sure I inked a lot of pens in May. And my favorite pairing from May was this Sailor Pro Gear Slim. This is called the Storm Over the Ocean colorway. And I just love how like subtle the sparkle is here. This is actually my only Pro Gear Slim now. I had quite a few, but with the size of my hands, I prefer the Sailor Pro Gear, the standard Pro Gear size. But I really love this one for some reason. I can't explain it. Maybe it's the colorway that got me. Maybe the nib is just too good, but I just really loved this inked up with Ferris Wheel Press Bayou Berry Mist. So yeah, this very grayish purple. I think it might be important to just note that there's not any shimmer ink so far. This is a medium nib, which is my preferred Sailor nib size. I've tried the medium fine, I've tried a fine, and I just think the medium works the best for my handwriting. As you can see, it's pretty similar to a Western or a Yovo fine. I love that this is giving holiday a little bit, oddly enough. Not planned, obviously, but really liking what we are coming up with so far. Okay, the next one and the favorite for June is this Sailor Pro Gear. This is the regular size with a demonstrator body. At the time that this became my favorite of the month, this had a medium nib. Now it has a journaler nib. I got it ground at Stationery Fest by Gina. And so the writing experience is a little different. It is smoother than it was before. Some of the feedback is not there, but still a gorgeous writer. This is a little bit of a Frankenstein of a pen. I think if you buy this now, you get the two-tone nib, and this nib was initially on a different pen that I had. I had a blue Margarita Pro Gear, and I did a body swap on Reddit for the demo and kept my original nib. So a little bit of a Frankenstein, but I really love it. And I have this inked up with another Frankenstein situation, my own custom mix, which I've been loving so much. Every time I use them, just like pat myself on the back. Love this. This is Tea Berry Ice Rink. It's a Birmingham pen company mix, and I mixed tea berry ice cream, which is just this like neon light pink, with Ice Rink, which is a blue, very crisp blue ink with red sheen. Next time I make this mix, I will pay attention to what I'm doing so that I can maybe give you some information on how to mix this if you like it. Gorgeous. I think we will see the full effect of this ink once it dries down a bit. Okay, we're going to continue on to the next page for the second half of the year. My July pick has a little bit of a change, but the pen is the pen that was the July winner, and that is the Pelikan 620, the New York colorway, and this has a fine nib on it. In July, I inked it up with Robert Oster Honeybee, which is this nice warm gold ink, and that was a sample. I used it up in this pen, wrote it dry. So I don't have Honeybee anymore, but I have a very close ink as far as color goes, and it's another Robert Oster. So I decided to go with Robert Oster African Gold. I've actually had this sample for a while, but this is the first time that I'm inking it up in a pen, and I just think it's stunning. It's so legible for this like gold color, and somehow it just goes, you know, how pretty this pen is. And this isn't necessarily white. This is like a milky, super light gray, like bluish gray. It's a stunner. And I got it for a deal from my pen dealer, Joel. He's the best. I actually wouldn't mind having the Chicago one as well. It's similar to this as far as the pattern, but it's more like black, gray, and bluish. Hold on, I can show it to you because of the Pelikan book that I got at CPC. Hold on. Okay, here we go. This is the New York pen here, and then this is the Chicago one. So you get the same pattern, but it's the darker version. You get black with like this gray marbling in there, and the cap has the same pattern on it instead of being solid. So I just think together they would be quite sexy. But I know, hard to find. Oh my God, Berlin too. Okay, back on task. This is inked up with Robert Oster, African Gold. My pick for August was the Leonardo Momento Zero in this Prugna colorway. Gorgeous chatoyance on this one. This has an extra fine nib on it. It was tuned by Annabelle in person in the Netherlands at Appleboom maybe a year and a half ago at this point, but it is definitely a stunner. I think Scribo has a pen that has the same resin on it these days, but I have this inked up with Ferris Wheel Press Song of Scarlet, which matches this so well, and it has some just lovely sheen in it. And I remember using this in my 5-year like nightly reflection journal, and it just seemed like that month I was finding any reason to just like write pages just because I enjoyed this pen and ink combination so much. Funny story with this too, just full of them today. This Song of Scarlet is a Fairy Tales ink, so it lives typically in a smaller bottle like this, but I don't even remember why or what happened, but the bottle broke like where the threads were. And so I was like, no, I must save it. So I saved as much as I could and put it in a empty Ferris Wheel Press bottle that I happened to just have because of my evaporation issue that we talked about last month. So hey, it might be worth it to save an empty ink bottle or purchase an empty ink bottle just in case. I know this isn't the full name, but I'll pop it up on the screen. And I think it means plum, or maybe plum is in the name as well. I'm not sure. Do not remember. So pretty. My pick for September is pretty unexpected. I really didn't use this pen much until I got a nib grind on it, and then like it just stole the show in September, and the ink was awesome as well. But my favorite for September is this Diplomat Excellence A2, and it has a Sansakusen grind on it from CY. I got this ground at Stationery Fest, and I have it inked up with a Birmingham Pen Company ink. I only have it as a sample, and I'm not even sure if this is the correct name of it because I was gifted it and they weren't entirely sure. They said seaweed something. And so I did a little bit of looking, but I think it's called rotten seaweed and I don't think it's available anymore. So sorry about that, but oh my God, I love it. Take a closer look at the pen here. I love the way that these feel and the little ink drop in the clip. Like the clip is very springy. Nice, comfortable rubber-like grip. Okay, if you remember in October, I went with like all black pens. It was very witchy vibes. And my favorite from that month was a little bit of a shocker. Maybe not, because I loved this pen the last time, like the time before that I inked it up. So this is my third time inking this pen this year. And it is the Monte Grappa Elmo 1 in like the black glossy piano finish. It needs to be wiped down a little bit, but we'll do that later. I have it inked up with Sailor Ink Studio 653, and this does have a fine nib, and I don't know, I've just been loving this Elmo. I know some people have issues with Monte Grappa, but I just have not experienced that with this. This is the only one that I have, and maybe I lucked out, but it has a great nib, it feels comfortable, and paired with this ink, it was absolutely a standout. As you can see, this is like a dark purple. I do believe it has some pretty cool sheen. Let's take a closer look at the pen. Look at the detail on the nib there. So pretty. It is postable. The shape is a little weird, but I do post it. It's so good. And then my pick for November isn't quite official yet because I haven't done the ratings, but I feel like since I had such a rough month this month with my pen and ink pairings, there was one standout that I'm sure is going to be my favorite, like whenever I crunch numbers or whatever. And I mentioned it in that currently inked video, like, ooh, I love this already. It just kept growing. So my pick for November is the Kaweco Art Sport in the Terrazzo, inked with Ferris Wheel Press Age of Aurum. So this is a very beautiful resin. It has the clip already built in. There was a short period of time where these pens were like half off for some reason. And so I got it during that point, a little bit after it was released, quite a bit after it was released. So I think I got this for like $62, something like that. And they're back up to 120 something the last time I checked, but I adore it. And this is the only shimmer in the bunch. Wow. But yeah, it's a stunner. It's a goldish brown with champagne shimmer. That sounds super bougie, but it's gorgeous. And it just flows so well out of this pen. Wonder how much I have left because I haven't added anything since the November currently inked, and I have a feeling, yeah, I'm gonna have to re-ink this. Oh, I still have quite a bit. It might be fine. I ended up not inking a whole bunch in any of these pens just because there are 11 pens inked, and that's quite a lot for me. So I didn't want to overdo it, especially with Inkvent coming up, and I'm going to be wanting to write with those a little bit. So we shall see. Is it 2 R's? I think it's 1 R and 2 Z's. I also wanted to give an honorable mention to a pen that I've had inked up for a couple of months. I've already had to re-ink it once, I think. I think it's just going to stay inked like this for a while, but it is my wedding bouquet pen, which I do have a whole video about the process, but I got this with Papa J Woodworks. These are pieces of my wedding bouquet in the resin, and that is my wedding logo on the nib there. Kirk Spear hooked that up, and he also hooked up the Imperial nib that's on it because I love that grind so much. But I have this inked up with Sailor Shikiori Kumakusa, and I think we just have to do an honorable mention. I'm doing this little swatch on the reverse side because it is a broader rider on the reverse. Okay, we're gonna let these finish drying. It shouldn't take too much longer, and then we'll come back, do a closer look at everything and see how it all dried down. Okay, we are back at it. Let's take a closer look and do a review. So in January, we have the TWSBI Eco in creme and rose gold matched up with diamine walnut. In February, we have the Esterbrook Esty in Raven. Beautiful matte black with that glossy clip matched up with diamine writer's blood. For March, we have a little bit of a pen switcheroo. We have the Pelikan M800 in the red and black, paired up with Ferris Wheel Press Spruce County Post. For April, we have the Tailored Pen Company Wallflowers pen paired up with Ferris Wheel Press Dancing Time. For May, my pick was the Sailor Pro Gear Slim in the Storm Over the Ocean colorway. This has a medium nib and it's paired up with Ferris Wheel Press Bayou Berry Mist. In June, we have another Sailor, this time the Pro Gear in a Demonstrator. This one has a journaler nib and it's paired up with a custom Birmingham Pen Company ink mix that I'm calling Tea Berry Ice Rink. My pick for July is the Pelikan M620 in the New York colorway, and this is inked up with Robert Oster African Gold. For August, I went with the Leonardo Momento Zero in the Prugna colorway. This has an extra fine nib and is inked up with Ferris Wheel Press Song of Scarlet. You can see, look at that sheen. Gorgeous. For September, I have the Diplomat Excellence A2, and this is inked up with Birmingham Pen Company Rotten Seaweed. This one also has some interesting green sheen. Don't know if you can catch that. There you go. For October, the pick was the Montegrappa Elmo 01 in the glossy black, and this is inked up with Sailor Ink Studio 653. This also has some greenish bronze sheen happening. It is quite subtle. Yeah. For November, we have the Kaweco Art Sport in the terrazzo colorway with a fine nib, and this is inked up with Ferris Wheel Press Age of Aurum. It's our only shimmer ink of the bunch this month. And then I had to do an honorable mention for my wedding bouquet pen by Papa J Woodworks. This is inked up with Sailor Shikiori Komakusa. So these are my best of picks for 2024. Let me know which is your favorite pairing here. What has been your favorite pen and ink combo of the year? Proclaim it down in the comments. Subscribe so you don't miss which pen and ink takes the title of the best pairing of them all. I was thinking about doing a short, but I don't know. It may be fun for you to see me suffer through picking a favorite of the year. Let me know if you want to see that. They're all just so good. But if you love currently inked content and want to see all of these guys in their initial groupings, I'll leave that super bingeable playlist for you right here. Thank you so much for watching and for making currently inked videos so much fun this year. I will catch you all in the next one.